Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. I'm back with another video in which I choose my top 5 favorite cards of a particular player. At the end of last week's video, I spun the wheel of names and it landed on what many consider to be the greatest catcher of all time, Johnny Bench. Now, Johnny Bench has some great cards, and actually his cards go slightly outside of the vintage era into the early 1980s. So to help me narrow down my focus of which cards to select my top 5 favorite from, I decided to go with the PSA Basic Topps Set Registry Checklist. So just his Topps Playing Days cards and not his Flair and Donruss cards from 81 to 83. So I had 16 cards to choose from his 1968 rookie card to his final Topps card, his 1983 Topps card. Now, here's where I would love all of you to participate as well. In the description of this video, I'll have a link to the PSA Basic Topps Set Registry Checklist. And from those 16 cards, would love to know in the comments which are your top 5 favorite Johnny Bench cards. And if you could number them 1 through 5, 5 through 1, it'll help me compile the results for next week's video. And if there are some cards beyond those 16 cards of Johnny Bench that you really like, feel free to put them in the comments as well, and I'll have them as honorable mentions in next week's video. Now, before I get to my top 5 favorite Johnny Bench cards, last week's featured player was Warren Spahn. So I'm going to go over the results of all of your comments from last week's video, letting me know which were your top 5 favorite Warren Spahn cards. Then I'll get into my top 5 favorite Johnny Bench cards. Then I'm going to turn the camera around and show off the Johnny Bench cards that I have in my collection. And then finally, we'll get to the wheel of names, spin it, and see which player will be featured in next week's video. So let's get to it. All right, for Warren Spahn, you had 23 cards to choose from to let me know which were your top 5 favorite. Those would be his 1948 through 53 Bowman cards, his 1949 Leaf card, his 1951 through 1965 Topps cards, and his 1963 Fleer card. So there were 13 of you who replied in the comments from last week's video letting me know which were your top 5 favorite Warren Spahn cards, and here are the top 5 selected. Actually, there's a 3-way tie there for 5th, so there's actually 7 cards that were the top selected. Leading the pack and almost with a unanimous choice in all of your top 5s was his 1953 Bowman card with 12 selections, followed by his 1952 Topps card with 7 selections. Then his 1952 Bowman card, 6 of you put it in your top 5. Then we had his 1963 Topps card with 5 selections. And then the 3-way tie in 5th place with his 1949 Leaf card, his 1953 Topps card, and his 1954 Topps card. Now, there were several Warren Spahn cards that didn't get any selections. There are some great Warren Spahn cards and maybe some not so great looking Warren Spahn cards. So his 1948 Bowman rookie card, his 1963 Fleer card, which I think is a nice card, his 1951 Topps 59, 61, 60, 61, 64, and 65 Topps cards did not get any selections. Now, there were 7 honorable mentions, and let's take a look at them. So leading off, we have his 1954 Johnston Cookies card, great looking card. Then his 1954 Red Heart card, love that green background. Then his 1955 Johnston Cookies card, and his 1955 Spick and Span. And the last 3 is his 1964 Topps Giants card, the 1990 Pacific Legends, and the 2001 Topps Chrome Past to Present featuring Greg Maddux and Warren Spahn. That's a cool looking modern card. All right, so out of the top cards that were selected by you, how did they rank in terms of 1 through 5, and how did it compare to my top 5 favorite Warren Spahn cards? Well, at number 5, you had his 1952 Topps card, which I had as my third favorite card. Then at number 4, you had his 1952 Bowman card, which, even though I really do like, just fell outside of my top 5 favorite. At number 3, another great looking Warren Spahn card, his 1963 Topps card, which again just fell outside of my top 5. Then there was a tie for second between his 1953 Topps card, which I did not have in my top 5, and his 1954 Topps card, which I had as my fourth favorite. And the general consensus with all of your comments, and was actually my number 1 favorite Warren Spahn card, was his 1953 Bowman card. All right, on to Johnny Bench. Again, you will have 16 cards to choose from, as did I, from his 1968 rookie card to his 1983 Topps card. So my fifth favorite Johnny Bench card, and there was a choice between this one and one that just fell outside of the top 5. I decided to go with his 1975 Topps card. Now, I know the All-Star cards in the 1975 Topps set all have the yellow, sort of orange color scheme to it, but since Johnny Bench was an all-star in 1974, he had the star and the color scheme in the 75 Topps set, and just makes for a great color combination. And of course, love, you don't see it too often, but they love to see a catcher card with them in a catcher's pose. The card that just missed out, that I was debating between that one and this one, was his 1972 Topps card. I really like the overall look of that card, but the color scheme on this one just put it over the edge over his 1972 Topps card. At number 4, I decided to go with his 1973 Topps card. What a great action shot it is, going into the what looks to be, I believe, the Giants dugout to catch a foul ball. The only sort of downside, which I may not have ranked this a little bit higher, you see the name on his uniform, but you don't get to see his face. It would have been cool if it was a little bit more of a side angle, but it's still a great action card. At number 3, I decided to go with his 1970 Topps card. Again, another image of him, crouching in the catcher's position. Take a look at that old catcher's glove from the 60s, 70s time period. And while I never talk about values of cards, this is just based on the looks of the card, has nothing to do with the highest valued cards of a particular player. But the 1970 Topps card is a high number series card for Johnny Bench, and so this one is a tough card to find, well centered. And when you pick up a copy of this, it's going to cost a little bit to add this card. This is one that's still outstanding in my playing days run. At number 2, I had to go with his 1976 Topps card. It's not so much as an in-action shot, but almost like a post-in-action shot. You have that dust there around home plate. There must have been some play that took place. Would love to know the story behind that picture, but it's just a great image of him in his catcher's gear. Again, not the pose, but it's sort of an action shot. Would love to know what took place right before that picture was taken. And of course, you have that National League All-Star star logo there in the bottom left corner, and a bit of a color match as well, with the background there for his name and the team. Just makes for a beautiful looking card. And at number 1, I had to go with what I consider his sort of rookie card. I know 68, yes, is technically his rookie card. It's a dual player rookie card. Those typically aren't my favorite, but his first solo playing days card, his 1969 Topps card. Just love the All-Star Rookie Cup logo. He's in that sort of catcher's crouch position. Again, that 60s to 70s time frame catcher's mitt. Now, normally, I'm not a fan of cards where a player isn't wearing a cap, but here it doesn't bother me at all. It just shows a really young Johnny Bench. You know, you didn't know what the future was going to be holding for him, as many of these, young players featured on cards are. And it's just an overall great looking card. So I had to put this as my favorite Johnny Bench card. All right, let's turn things around and show off the Johnny Bench cards that I have in my collection. Okay, for Johnny Bench, I'm not too far off from having his complete Topps Playing Days run. I'm missing his 1970, 71, and 81 cards. So I have some others thrown in here as well, but we'll start off with his rookie card from 1968. This was one that I had in my collection a long time ago, sold it, regretted it, and so glad that I have a copy back in my collection. There is the back. Wanted to make sure that the back was fairly well centered. Sometimes these 68s, the front's nice, but the back is a bit wonky, so it's not perfect, but meets my eye appeal test for the back of the card. So there's his rookie. Then my favorite Johnny Bench card, his 68. Remember, I picked this up at, I think it was, I can't remember now. I have to look it up whether it was Atlantic City or Chicago Nationals, but one of the two Nationals there. Picked this copy up. Just love the centering on it, the colors, and it's my general number grade that suits my budget, and was able to pick up this great looking copy. And there is the back. Then, while I don't have his 1971 regular card, I do have the RBI leaders card from that year, featuring Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, and Billy Williams. So 3 Hall of Famers on one card. And here is the back, so you can see through the glare there. You can see all the National League RBI leaders all the way, Bench at the top with 148, all the way down to I don't know his first name, LeBoy, with 53. So there you go. There's Willie Mays with 83. You can pick out probably some other Hall of Famers. There's Cepeda and so on. Then here's his 72. Again, this, I really like his 72, but the 75 was just a little bit nicer in my opinion, in terms of the overall eye appeal of Bench cards. But man, this was close. I really like his 72. And there's the back. And here's my 73. And again, just like the 68s, these 73s, the backs of these, really try to find ones that are at least decently centered, and this one fits that bill. Then we have his 74. This one was hard to find centered. A lot of them left to right were okay, but were really either up or down, and you could really tell the gap. So it took me a while to find the right copy, right price point, and everything. So really happy with this copy here. There's the back. Then his 75. Gorgeous card. And Another one that made my top 5 list is 76. And another tough card for me to find well-centered without any black ink blotches and stuff is his 77. This one took me a while to find. When I would find one that was, well-centered, had nice eye appeal to me, whether it was a 6 or 7, again, the number grade didn't matter to me. I just wanted to find a nicely centered copy. More often than not, the prices were just outrageous, but finally landed a 77 for my collection. So Johnny Bench cards, if you're looking for well-centered cards, if you're not looking to spend a whole lot of money for really high-grade cards, in general, his cards aren't super expensive. But again, if you're looking for a certain eye appeal, they can be a bit of a challenge, let's say, to find the right cards. And here's his 78. Normally in these videos, if a player has a 78 Topps card, I sometimes sort of sneak it into the top 5 just because I love the set. In terms of Johnny Bench's other action cards and the ones where he's in a catcher's pose, the image here is just, it's sort of plain and average, but love the All-Star Shield logo there and the card. And again, the sort of color combination, just love it. And here is the back. And we go on to his 79. It's interesting. I'm not sure what he may not have, gotten all of that ball. Maybe it just an infield hit or something like that, because it looks like he's looking down. So obviously the way his follow through is, that probably wasn't a ball that landed, either a home run or went to the outfield. So probably was a ground out at bat for that image there of Johnny Bench. But you have that National League All-Star third sort of banner or section there down at the bottom. Then is 1980. Again, probably looks like another where he's looking there, probably another, maybe a single through the infield, but definitely not, probably a ball into the outfield. But still a cool action image, just like the 79. It's an action image, but of him batting rather than catching. So there's the back. Just a few more here. Again, missing his 81. Here's his 82. Great smile there. The back of his 82. I don't have his Topps in Action card. In fact, I forget what that... I'm pretty sure he has an in action in 82. Just I can't recall the image on the card. But moving on to his last Topps card is 83. Again, bit of an in action sort of swinging image there. And just the great overall 83 Topps set design. And his last 3 cards are sort of not commemorative, but they highlight his career because he retired after the end, I believe, after the end of the 83 season. So the first one here is the 84 Donruss Living Legends with Corey Yastrzemski. I bought this technically as part of my Corey Yastrzemski run, but also features Johnny Bench. There's a little write-up on both. Then the 2 players were paired again in the 84 Flair card. Retiring Superstars. And here's the back. And again, Flair's version of their sort of career highlights. And finally, not to be outdone, Topps did one in '84 with Yastrzemski, Bench, and Gaylord Perry. So they stepped it up one notch by adding a third soon-to-be or future Hall of Famer. And so this highlights all three players. And here is the back. So there you go, my Johnny Bench cards. And so now let's get to the Wheel of Names, spin it, and see which player will be featured in next week's video. Only 8 names remain from my initial 40-player list. We got the likes of Whitey Ford, Duke Snyder, Ernie Banks, Frank Robinson, Jim Palmer, Willie McCovey, Harmon Killebrew, and Ted Williams still to be selected by the Wheel of Names. So let's give it a spin and see what the wheel chooses. Next week's video is going to be on Ted Williams. Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this. Ted Williams doesn't have a whole lot of playing days cards, but of the ones that he does, they are outstanding. So this is going to be a challenge to narrow it down to my top 5, and then within that top 5, which is maybe my favorite, and second, third, and fourth, and fifth, so on. So with that, a final reminder, in the comments, would love to know which are your top 5 favorite Johnny Bench cards. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.